Chapter 13. The children tell their story. Grandad smiled when he saw them. "Welcome home," he exclaimed. The children both began to speak. Grandad held up his hand for silence. "I can smell the fire and smoke in your clothes." "Can you?" said Lucy. She sniffed her t-shirt. "Yes," she said. "So can I," said Robert. "That's what the Great Fire of London smells like," said Grandad. "Now go and change your clothes before you do anything else." They met Mrs. Green, the maid, in the hall. "What is that smell?" she asked. "It's the Great Fire of London," said Robert. "Don't be silly," said Mrs. Green with a laugh. The children ran upstairs to change their clothes. Later, they told Grandad the whole story. "It's just like it says in the history books," said Grandad. "You were so lucky to see it. No one else in the world today has been there." "I never thought of that," Robert exclaimed. "But now you must give me the time travel phones." "Do we have to?" Lucy wailed. "I don't want you to travel in time by mistake. It's much too dangerous." They gave the phones to Grandad. "One day," he said, "someone will find the missing phone, and people will say, 'It is 350 years old.' They will be very surprised." "I hope we can go time-traveling again," Lucy said. "So do I," said Robert. "It's the most exciting thing I've ever done in my life." The new term began at school. Robert and Lucy were in the same class. "This term," said their new teacher, "we are going to study some exciting events in history. I'm going to start with the Great Fire of London. Has anyone heard of that?" Robert and Lucy grinned at each other and put up their hands. The teacher folded his arms. "Really? What do you two know about it?" "Well," Robert said, "it began very early on the 2nd of September 1666 in a baker's shop in Pudding Lane, London." "It was a warm night," said Lucy, "and there was a strong wind. The wind helped to spread the fire." "Well done," said the teacher. "You know a lot about it." "We know a lot about the first day of the Great Fire," said Lucy. "Tell us more then," said the teacher. So they did. Everyone in class was amazed. "How do you know all this?" the teacher asked. "Oh, we just like history," said Lucy. "Grandad tells us stories from history." "You make it sound as if you were there," said the teacher with a laugh. "Perhaps we were," said Robert, grinning. "Perhaps we travelled back in time," said Lucy. The teacher smiled. "I wish we could do that. History would be very easy to learn." "And it would be more fun," said Robert. All that term, the cousins thought about the time travel phones in Grandad's safe. "One day," said Lucy, "perhaps we will go time travelling again." "I hope so," said Robert. "Where will we go next, do you think?"
Now it's time for the summary of the story. The children were at home. Their clothes had the smell of the Great Fire of London. They went to change their clothes. They told Granddad their story. He told them that they were lucky to see the Great Fire of London. Granddad took the time travel phones not to travel in time by mistake. The children hoped to use the phones again because it was very exciting. The new term began. The teacher told them that they are going to study some exciting stories. He was going to start with the Great Fire of London. Robert and Lucy told the teacher about the fire. Everyone was surprised how they knew such information. The teacher said to them, "You seemed like you were there." The children replied, "Perhaps we were. History would be very easy to learn." Answer the following question. Why did Granddad take the time travel phones? Why did Granddad take the time travel phones? Not to travel by mistake. Not to travel by mistake. Number 2. Why did the children hope to use the phones again? Why did the children hope to use the phones again? Because they were exciting. Because they were exciting. Number 3. What was the story that the teacher talked about? What was the story that the teacher talked about? The Great Fire of London. The Great Fire of London. Complete the following. Number 1. The children's clothes had the smell of Great Fire of London. Number 2. The teacher told them he was going to study some exciting stories. He was going to start with the Great Fire of London. Number 3. History would be easy. It would if we could travel back in time. Now, answer these questions. Number 1. What was the smell of the children's clothes? What was the smell of the children's clothes? The smell of the Great Fire of London. Number 2. What would happen if we could travel back in time? History will be very fun. Complete the following. Granddad took the time travel phones not to travel in time by mistake. Number 2. Everyone was surprised. Thank you for listening. Goodbye and good luck.